Spoiler alert. The following will contain spoilers for Loki.
What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews. Yo, we finally got episode 2 of Loki. Wow! We finally figured out who this Loki variant is that's been running around and giving the TVA so many problems. I mean, oh my goodness, blowing up stuff and killing folks left and right. All hell is about to break loose. And it is about to go down. But of course, as you know, there's so much stuff that we have to cover. So let's just jump right into it. The TVA arrived to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, 1985. While they're investigating, a glowing green finger touches C-20. She begins attacking her teammates, killing them one by one. The magical brainwashing wears off, and the last TVA agent standing is now stabbed. The devious Loki variant opens up a time door and drags C-20 along with. I don't believe that we've ever seen Loki do mind control without using the Mind Stone. He did do that in the first Avengers movie, but again, he had the Mind Stone with him to do that. But what's interesting now is that this Loki variant is doing something a little different. Something a little enchanting, but that's exactly what was explained later on, but we'll get to that down the road. Loki is posted in the TVA and continues his education about the multiverse with Miss Minutes. He gets his official TVA jacket from Mobius, and they head over to a briefing on the latest case. We see that there are a lot of different types of Lokis out there. Before they head out, Mobius offers up Loki a deal in exchange for his cooperation, a meeting with the Timekeepers. They investigate the crime scene, and Loki goes on a long explanation about the motives of the variant. Mobius isn't buying it, and they all leave the scene after setting up a reset charge. So, of course, in this scene, we get a whole lot more exposition. Basically, whenever Loki learns something, we're learning something, right? You're learning what the time reset charges do. You're learning about basically what happens when the red line hits the very top of the device or whatnot. It creates a Nexus event. And basically, that means that there's nothing that they can do to undo the event or whatever was going on during that time. And I have to say, I'm actually kind of happy that Marvel is simplifying all this stuff, because anytime you're dealing with the multiverse, time travel, whatever, this stuff gets so overly complicated. So I'm glad that they're making it as simple as just follow the red line, or, just like, here's a quick little bomb that just magically retcons everything. Now, during the briefing, something I wanted you to pay attention to, did you check out the very first hologram of Loki? We see that he doesn't have Odin's magic on him, and he's just a blue frost giant. And this is what I'm hoping that this show will kind of investigate a little bit more. Not so much just all these different versions of Loki, but so much of like the what if versions of Loki, right? Like, what if Odin hadn't found him and adopted him? What if Loki was worthy and picked up Thor's hammer? Like, all these different stories I think would be pretty interesting, just to kind of see like what kind of person would Loki turn into, if all these little variables were just a little different. But there is something I want us to kind of pay attention to. Why are there so many Lokis? Like, why are there so many different variants here? These have to be either Lokis that the TVA have caught or that they're chasing. This makes me wonder if there's something special about Loki that always makes him a prime target for the TVA. Could it be that because he's always fiending after the Tesseract, that it always causes a branch reality? Or maybe could Loki be a Nexus being? Or maybe Loki is the only one in all these multiverses that keeps on figuring out the BS of the TVA. I don't know. What do you think? Now, I have to say, my personal favorite moment here was when Mobius was talking about the magic of the various Lokis, one of them being illusion projection. Loki quickly corrected him and said it was duplication casting, and he said that the illusion projection is creating an image of yourself outside of yourself, whereas duplication casting is making a copy of your own body in its current state, and that acts like a true holographic double. Now, the reason why I love this distinction so much is because it's very similar to my previous theory that I posted about 2 years ago. In it, I said that Loki had this power of duplication, casting power, but to a new level. And I think it's an interesting theory that you definitely want to check out if you haven't already. But I will say that I do think that one way or another, this Loki series and just this scene right here is going to set something up where Loki is going to pull a fast one on the TVA, and it's going to be glorious. Now, something interesting here I thought was when Mobius was able to see through Loki's game and know that he was stalling for time. And here's the thing, I don't blame Loki though. This shows how perceptive he actually is. He knows that the TVA could be lying to him and that he has no assurances that a meeting with the timekeepers would even happen. You know, like this is like when you get arrested for a crime and the police say that they'll help you out and make a deal. But in reality, they're not there to be your friends. They're there to solve a case and put someone away. Same applies with the TVA. They will tell Loki whatever just to get this variant, but Loki knows that they can betray him just as well. So this was actually a pretty nice ruse by Loki, you know, to stall and buy for time, but we can still see that Loki is, you know, being perceptive and keeping his guard up. Mobius goes to Judge Renslayer's office. He pleads his case to her by saying that he now knows that Loki likes to stall for time. The hope here is that the other variant Loki likes to do the same, and that's how they will catch them. He also asks about the timekeepers and admits that he's never met them. After getting approval to continue his mission, he rejoins Loki again after getting approval to continue his mission. Okay, now I gotta ask the question. Who is this other analyst? And why is this important? Listen, you gotta pay attention to the clues. They mentioned this analyst 3 different times. Why? Man, I'm just saying this better not be another WandaVision, Monica Rambeau situation where you got a best friend that is just an hour away that we about to meet. Oh yeah, we can't wait to meet your best friend, and we don't see that best friend at all. Blue Marvel, you know. So I'm just wondering, who's this analyst? Now, during our last live chat, and if you haven't been checking our live chats, you definitely need to. Every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Somebody had brought up a really good point, and they said maybe it's Steve Rogers. He does have some TVA qualifications in resetting timelines and putting stones back where they belong. Man, listen, hey, it could be it. But I got some other ideas on who this potential analyst could be, and I'll put that in a separate video. But I want to hear, who do you think could be Renslayer's other analyst that is so good that might even be having Mobius a little jealous? Let me know in the comments. Now, here's something I want you to kind of pay attention to, this whole dialogue between Renslayer and Mobius, because I think it was kind of interesting, right? Like, she was like, hey, look, Loki is evil. He's lying. You know, he's a scourge. That's it. Like, that's his story, no matter his variant, whatever. And Mobius is like, well, maybe he could change, right? And she responded and was like, only if the timekeepers decree it. Now, that right there, whiffs of a god complex going on. And as I mentioned before, Mobius already said that he's never met the timekeepers before. So all I'm saying is there's a lot of blind faith going on here, but we will come back to this point later. And by the way, I'm gonna need my man Mobius to chill out. He has been psychologically checking Loki left and right. When he gave him 2 little ultimatums, like, yo, maybe I'm lying to you, maybe I'm just telling you what you want to hear and all that. Loki is just sitting there like you just checked my soul, you know, you done checked my temporal aura, you know. Mobius and Loki go over to the TVA library. Loki asks the librarian for files on the TVA in time. The only files he does have access to are his own. He reads a file labeled The Destruction of Asgard, and it describes the events of Ragnarok. He gets a little watery-eyed as he learns about the destruction of his people. However, he notices one crucial line which reads, 0 variant energy detected. Loki discovers that the variant is using apocalyptic events to hide their presence from the TVA. So Mobius and Loki travel to Pompeii, Italy in 79 AD to test out Loki's theory. As the volcano erupts and destroys the village of Pompeii, Mobius sees that no variant's energy is detected. Thus, proving Loki's theory about the variant hiding in the apocalyptic events. Now, if for whatever reason Loki's salad metaphor didn't make sense to you, think of it like this. History books and historians can only know and study history based on what's left over. So let's say the timekeepers had the opportunity to look at the events of the past and thereby police time that way. They too will be blind to certain things in the timeline if there's no evidence available. I think this is yet another reason why the timekeepers allowed the Avengers to win. Tony Stark's last snap erased all of Thanos' forces, who, if you think about it, all of them were variants from an alternate timeline. Even though Gamora is still out there, so I don't know how they're going to explain that. But either way, the thing that's interesting about Loki's theory being right is that it also proves that the TVA are fallible. This moment right here, this theory, proves that we can't trust what the TVA says when it comes to time. They have blind spots. So if the timekeepers and the TVA have blind spots, then that probably means that their story about the multiverse and everything else probably has some other holes in it too. Both Mobius and Loki sit down and talk after leaving Pompeii. Loki begins to ask Mobius about his belief in the TVA and the timekeepers, and Mobius asserts his belief in the TVA and everything he's been told about it. Loki is just sitting there in disbelief. All right, so Loki asked Mobius about his jet ski magazine or whatnot. And this is kind of important because, I've always said to look at Loki's questions. Listen to what Loki is asking, because Loki is very, very perceptive. He is going to poke holes in this stuff left and right. And he's doing that right now with Mobius. He asked him, you really believe in all this stuff, don't you? But this is important because Mobius basically replied and said, it's not about believing, it's just about accepting it. So Mobius tries to kind of like come back by saying that any questions that derive back to where we all come from will always sound ridiculous. All right, so now I'm just going to put on my philosophy cap on real quick and just kind of, because this is getting very philosophical. And when they start talking about free will and they start talking about belief and acceptance and creation and where we come from and so on and so forth. Now, the one thing I'll say is that I do not agree with Mobius's claim that all this sounds ridiculous the more you ask questions. No, not necessarily. It sounds ridiculous when things are unreasonable. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the long, tedious, meticulous, grand designer, teleological, cosmological, philosophical arguments and for creation and stuff like that. The grand design, intelligent, whatever. There's a lot of logical things that you can really dig deep into. And they might be hard for some people to comprehend, but they're not necessarily ridiculous. Anyway, it's still interesting how Mobius interacts with his existence and the purpose of the TVA. But Loki still keeps pressing him on even more issues with some philosophical basis. The notion of free will is what Loki is digging at here. For him, if everything is already written, time is set. The TVA and the timekeepers have already won and figured all this out. So if that's the case, free will doesn't exist, mainly because everything is already predetermined. But we hear Mobius give even more of what sounds like the propaganda from the TVA. He says that the TVA take care of everything from the past, while the timekeepers take care of the future evolving branches, to ensure that time develops the right way. And this is where the contradiction lies, right? Because if everything is already predetermined, then why do you need to go back in time, and why is it a work in progress? Shouldn't it already be done and y'all just be chilling? Well, Loki sees through this facade, and again, this is why he keeps on poking those holes. Ideally, at this point, the timekeepers are making stuff up as they go. And the TVA, they're really just their foot soldiers to keep that going. Now, one thing here I really like that Loki brought up was no one good is really truly good, and no one bad is ever truly bad. And this right here is one of the most consistent Marvel themes, throughout these Disney Plus series, whether it's Falcon and Winter Soldier, whether it's WandaVision, whatever, they are liking to blur the lines more of morality, where like you might have someone that's mostly good, doing the right things, but maybe they go about it the wrong way, or maybe you have a villain that's, kind of bad, but maybe they have really good intentions, So, when you look at someone like Carly, when you look at someone, like what was she doing? She was blowing people up, but she was also trying to feed people and give them resources. You look at someone like Wanda, she just wants a family and to be loved and so on and so forth. But she's holding an entire town hostage. So I just thought that was actually kind of cool because this is something that's probably going to apply to Loki as well. Like, I don't think that Loki is a bad villain or anything like that, but obviously Loki will do bad things. But of course, he's gonna maybe have good intentions, and that's the cool thing about Loki's character. He's not really good or bad. He's just an agent of chaos, God of Mischief. Now, during their conversation, Mobius recalls the bubblegum given to him by the boy at the variant crime scene. He and Loki cross-reference the gum along with the apocalyptic events to find out where the killer variant may be hiding. They find him in Alabama 2050. Mobius gets clearance from Judge Renslayer, and he proceeds on with his mission. Now, did you check out what Renslayer said to Mobius? She basically said that if this mission doesn't work out, there's not much she can do. Judging by her tone, I think she's basically saying that if Mobius messes this up, then he may get disintegrated too. Listen, I'm just saying the TVA has got to be no joke if they out here disintegrating their own agents. The TVA field team travels to Alabama 2050. Loki's powers are now active again as he dries himself off. He's now paired up with Hunter 15 as they explore the store looking for the variant. They find a customer in the store posing as though he was shopping. The shopper grabs Hunter 15 and the green magic flows through their bodies. Hunter 15 is now possessed by the Loki variant. Soon after, the variant switches bodies to another store employee. Meanwhile, the TVA finds C20 in the back office rambling. She said that she gave away all the information to the variant on how to find the timekeepers. Back to Loki, he tells the variant that he wants to overthrow the timekeepers and that he needs a lieutenant by his side. The variant declines the offer. They don't want to rule the TVA. It switches bodies again and begins to attack Loki. Meanwhile, the variant set up several time charges throughout the store. As the bombs are ready to go off, they each fall into different time doors to various timelines. The TVA notices that the sacred timeline has now been breached and bombed, causing multiple branches of alternate realities. We find out that this variant is actually a blonde woman. She escapes through a time door and Loki follows right behind her. First of all, Hunter 15 is a hater. Why they give my man Loki his daggers and the first thing she did was just snatch them? Ooh, she's such a blocker. Anyway, as suspected, we can now see that Loki's magic works once he's outside of the TVA. This is interesting because this may have future implications for the other Loki variants too, meaning that if Loki's powers don't work in the TVA, then neither do the variants. So if, let's say, the variant wanted to attack the TVA, they're going to have to do it without powers and by other means. But of course, hey, we got to talk about the big reveal here with this lady Loki, who, by the way, she doesn't like to be named Loki. Yeah, okay. Well, that's clearly, in my opinion, that is a way for them to kind of like distinguish that this version is someone else in their own right. Now, I believe in the end credits, I forget which version, they actually titled this character as Sylvie. Now, in the comics, Sylvie was like this regular girl who, for whatever reason, Loki gave magical powers to, and she basically adopted the moniker of Enchantress. She's not the original Enchantress from the comics, but she adopts that name. And then, if I'm not mistaken, she also like teams up with the new Avengers. So maybe this lady Loki might be playing along with the new Avengers that Marvel is going to build up, or this also could just be Marvel's way of rewriting and retconning the traditional Enchantress character, who again was another character in Asgard. Just think of it as like another sorceress with powers, whatever. Because at this point, it doesn't matter what the comics said because clearly Marvel is going down a different path. But I think that's a very clear reason why they gave her blonde hair, even though most of the other Lokis all have black hair. They're really trying to give her her own lane. And I think it's just to become the new Enchantress by the time this entire series is finished. Anyway, Lady Loki said that she wasn't interested in ruling the TVA. And I think there's something in what she said here. She clearly has other motivations to attack the TVA. Think about it. She already found a way to hide from them, so it's not like there's some defensive measure that she's taking here. I'm thinking that she wants revenge. The TVA must have done something real bogus to her. I don't know. But if you notice in the episode, you did see how much the TVA don't care about people during apocalyptic events. Maybe Lady Loki was like having her own Ragnarok or something, and the TVA came in. Maybe they abducted her. Maybe she, hid out with them. Maybe that's why she knows. Maybe she got arrested. I don't know. But one way or another, she's been with the TVA enough to learn their ways and to learn how to outsmart them. But the fact that she's going back at them means that she's clearly got an axe to grind. And we're just going to have to wait and find out what exactly that problem is. But I think that's the main reason why she does not want to rule them. She wants to destroy them. Anyway, that's all we got for today. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my video. What did you think about this episode? What did you think about the reveal with Lady Loki? Did you see it coming? Did it catch you off guard? What other questions do you have about this whole season? Was there anything confusing in this episode? Better yet, what are you looking forward to in the next episode? Because clearly it is about to go down. I mean, Loki teamed up with another Loki. I think something magical is going to happen. But that's just me. Anyway, like I said, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. Don't forget, every Wednesday, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, 7 p.m., we will be doing a live reaction. That is where we all come together. We all talk about our favorite moments in the episode. We ask questions. We explore. We do theory. We just hang out and have a good time. So make sure you join us so you don't miss out. If you're new here and you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so that way you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. Of course, I do have other videos for you to go check out. You can check out my Loki videos. You can check out that most recent theory that I got. I will do my best to work on some more theories for you, some more side videos and such. So all you have to do is just stay tuned, and I'll drop them as soon as I can for you. In the meantime, I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all. And until next time, I'll see you all later.